Hola, soy Litzy La Bomba Dilene, boxeadora profesional de México, y estás viendo el show de Todd Atkins, en donde verás y escucharás a grandes talentos del boxeo. No te lo puedes perder.
All right, so this is Todd Atkins, and I'm here with Brianna Martinez, and we're kind of going to talk about her fighting career. And well, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself for people that aren't familiar with you.
Okay. Well, I'm Brianna Martinez. I also go by Brianna Damari. I'm from New Jersey. My family's from Puerto Rico. Um, I've been living in Florida for about 13 years, and I started learning MMA when I was 18. I'm currently 26 years old. I fight in 145 pounds. So that's as far as that. A little bit about my background as far as like what made me want to get into MMA or mixed martial arts is my mom was a victim of domestic violence. So, seeing what she had to go through, I knew I never wanted to be a victim. So I definitely, am big on advocating for domestic violence awareness. So, I started doing that. And I'm also a mom of two. So in between my training, I had two kids. So now I've been putting in a lot of the work. I put in a lot of work the past few months and the past few years actually. So the past 3 years I've been taking it pretty seriously to the next level. It started off as just a hobby and then went off from people saying like, you should you should compete. So I come from Iron Dragon MMA gym in Newport Richie. I train with MF team team MF. So yeah, that's a
Now, you
little bit
said
about me.
you said you got into it because your mother experienced domestic violence, but when did you first find the sport as something that you were exposed to with your eyes?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so ever since I was little, I just always been into those action movies, Ip Man, Bruce Lee. I think it's like ever since I was little. And I think just seeing that and like I would say like maybe like 6 years old and just seeing what my mom had to go through. Oh no.
Right. So, right. So, you were talking about how you got into it, but something takes people into a gym. Like, who was the person or what was the situation that you can remember besides the overall reason? What was
Okay.
the instance that brought you into an MMA gym?
Okay. So at the time within the same plaza of the MMA gym, there used to be it was like a little Zen, it was like a little place, but I did music and I started doing music, got into music. I had a music partner and we would go there and we would go to this little cafe to go write. And we seen this MMA gym within there. And I was like, we should go check it out. And I lived around the corner, so I would dedicate myself to walk there to the MMA gym. And I started off going with my music partner and my brother in Christ. And then he ended up moving and leaving, but I kept on going. And I give props to my coach, Brian Camacho, for believing in me and continuing to encourage me to, push me mentally because there was a lot of times that, I wanted to give up on myself, but he's seen the potential in me, so and I took that, I ran with it. So ever since then, I've been with him for like 6 years now, 7 years. So
Hmm.
I've been at the same gym for 7 years and we've just grown as a family with the students. I'm now an assistant coach as well.
So kind of tell me, you said 6, 7 years, right? So kind of tell
Yeah.
me like your development. When was it that they maybe approached you about competing? How many years in?
Um, like I said, I had kids in between. So, it was after I had my kids that like really pushed me because I wanted to be active. I wanted to, feel confident. I want to feel strong. I had lost a lot of weight. I lost actually over 100 pounds. So I lost a lot of weight and it was about so that was like about 3 years after initially starting um, you know, MMA. So about 3 years after initially starting, but about a year after having my kids, after losing the weight, putting in the dedication, the hard work, and the consistency, and really just, having a flow.
Right, it's not usual. I mean, 3 years you must have progressed a lot. So,
Oh,
what I mean is like it's not usual for someone been training 3 years for them to, at least in my experience, I trained a long time, and to approach someone to compete after 3 years. So you must have progressed well in your training and your technique.
yeah. I actually was like one of the first consistent female competitors that my coach had worked with in a long, long time. Um, so I worked with just all guys all the time. So you can imagine like I became one of the bros. So like they did not take it easy on me and I didn't want them to take it easy on me. So I think just having that experience, being able to work with the guys and being able to also work a lot one on one with my coach because it is a smaller gym. It's more, more intimate. So it's like working one on one with my coach and him being able to actually like show me things that other gyms would take years to learn. That's one thing. It's like no matter what level of training you have, he comes and he brings people in and he's gonna show you high level technique no matter at what level because you're gonna get to that point eventually. You might as well learn it now type thing. So just conditioning. So yeah.
Now, when they approach you, like to fight the first time, kind of
Mhm.
how did you feel about that? Because like 3 years in, um, did you feel like, oh yeah, okay, no problem, or were you kind of hesitant?
Oh yeah, I was definitely hesitant. There was many times I was like, what the heck am I thinking?
No, but what I mean is like, did they have to kind of talk you into it because you were hesitant, or did they come to you and you were kind of like, I know you said you were hesitant, but did you just say, all right, right up front, were you willing to do it at that time?
Yeah, I feel like at the time I felt like I was ready and I feel like it was just a built up of nerves to that point. But I always I was always hesitant at that point because I didn't know what to expect. I think anytime you go out and you fight for your very first time, and you're asked to fight, especially with Combat Night, like I didn't know nothing about Combat Night, and my first fight was with Combat Night. Like that's kind of like it was a lot of pressure for sure. The nerves hit.
Did they have
Mhm.
to talk you into it at first,
Mm,
or no?
no,
Okay.
no. No, I feel like I was confident enough in myself at that point. Like I was like I had that drive in me, like I'm ready to get in the ring.
Because it's always interesting, 'cause not many people talk about this stuff, but when you first get approached to fight in the show, some people don't want to do it. You know what I mean? Or they have to, you got a promoter, the show approaches you, or I need somebody at this weight, whatever. So I was wanting to see if that was the situation with you or if you were just ready to jump in. So it sounds like you were just ready to jump in.
Yeah, I was ready for my first fight. I just didn't know the intensity to that level until I actually got closer and closer and like towards that weight cutting because I did have to cut weight. So I was like, wow, this is like the real deal.
Mhm.
So I
Now, what
think
did,
my coach
sorry,
encouraged me a lot though.
yeah,
Sorry.
what did you know about Combat Night, this promotion that you were going to fight in? Were you familiar with it at all or no?
I wasn't too familiar. I came and I ended up having to look them up and I was like, oh, this looks like a really like dope promotion. But I didn't know anything about Combat Night. I was like, sounds cool. But
Yeah,
I
so when you see that it does have good exposure on social media and whatnot. So did
oh
that
yeah,
kind of make you a little more anxious to see that?
yeah, it did. I would say for sure, especially when with the highlights.
So let's talk about 2023. You have your first fight. You first get there. Kind of just tell me about the atmosphere at that show. Because, like I said, I've seen them
Hmm.
do a lot of promotion, but I haven't been to that show.
Yeah. Um, the first one, uh, the first fight, it was a really good promotion. I actually am very impressed with like the professionalism and the advertisement and there it was nice and I got to see like the ring before going out there and doing my walk-in so I got to see where I was coming out from and stuff. But it's definitely professional. It's like a little baby UFC, I like to call it.
Hmm. And it's got pretty good attendance, yeah.
Yeah, it has a really good attendance. It's actually sometimes it gets even like, booked out. It gets really crowded for sure.
Kind of tell me
Especially
about your.
toward, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Tell me about your first fight. Kind of what the experience was like.
Um, Definitely very nerve-wracking. Like I said, I was one of the first like, the first female competitors on my team for a while. So there wasn't probably another female in the gym for like about like 5, 6 years because there wasn't really a lot of girls wanting to, you know, learn MMA or compete in MMA. So it was very nerve-wracking. And then another thing is that not only um not only was like I the only female, but I was also the first fighter out of the team to be introduced into Combat Night. So like um I basically my debut was like what opened up our team to Combat Night. So we've had also many of my teammates start, you know, going to Combat Night and stuff and they start getting people from our team. So it brought us recognition. So that was cool too. But I was definitely very, very, very nervous at that point.
But what was the fight like? Kind of tell me the experience of the fight.
So the experience, um, I was like, it's go time. Like this is it. So like, um, everything happens. It's hard to explain
Mhm.
because when you're there, everything's happening so fast. It's like minutes, like these few minutes feel like forever. But then like before you know it, you realize like so much like so little time has passed. Like everything just happened so fast. Um she was taller than me and she was also lefty. So I think that also had me nervous because I had never fought lefty. I was like, this is my first fight.
Mhm.
I'm not familiar with fighting lefty. And then she was also a taller person, so she had wider range. And at that point, I wasn't as comfortable fighting on the inside. So it was definitely intense. And then I'm used to training with music. So when you're in there, it's just silence. Like you got all eyes on you, you got cameras, lights, and it's like you really have to like stay focused and like you have to create the environment for yourself. You really it takes a lot of mental focus and a lot of, you know, mental agility.
So you think those things that you're talking about, like the lights and stuff, it wouldn't affect you as much this time?
I don't think so. I feel really confident. I know what to expect. So I know I have a good feeling of the cage too. Um, it was different, like being within, because with Combat Night, whether it's boxing, kickboxing, it's within a cage. So I've never fought within a cage. So that was very interesting, and it's almost like you got two caged animals, like, so it's like it. I feel like I'll do a lot better this time. So I have a good. I'm very confident.
Yeah. Tell me
Mhm.
about this because you said you never trained with a lefty. How much lead time did you know that this was the person you were going to fight?
Um, I think it was like maybe a month.
They didn't want to bring in any lefties to train with you or anything?
My coach is a lefty.
Oh,
So but he's like same level as me.
mm-hmm.
So what was happening was I kept going into that left hand. So she was lefty, so her left no, right leg was leading. So she would just be coming in with that left overhand, and it would just like throw me off guard
Hmm.
because she had so much range.
No.
So, and I wasn't too good at using my angles. And honestly, I could have had her. The only thing is that I hesitated. I came and I did the first takedown of the fight, and I could have did a ground and pound. But instead I try to keep the fight standing and try to keep it a standing fight, which is where I went wrong.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think sometimes people look back and so you're saying maybe you didn't use all the skills that you felt you had.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I would have definitely had a greater advantage if I had used my grappling skills.
Now, why do you think it was that you didn't? Maybe looking back on it.
Honestly, my coach, he was very persistent on keeping it a standing fight, just because he believed in my boxing skills. He believed I could have, kickboxed her out, like, and be able to land, because my punches are very hard. I land one clean one, and I could have like, KO'd, because my punches are pretty hard. But I think when I had her on the ground, the first thing I thought was keep it standing, because of the fact that she is like longer and stuff. But I feel like I would have had an advantage had I went the grappling route. But I kept on thinking, keep it standing, keep it standing. So instead, I came and I did some uppercuts and kept it standing, brought her back up, and we fought from there. But
But
yeah.
I mean, that's what your coach wanted, so
Yeah, so I
yeah,
was kind of trying to follow the game plan.
that's it's interesting, that you
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people don't do it because they just kind of blank out, or whatever the
Yeah,
case may
exactly.
be, that they aren't even thinking about it. Even if it's their strength, they aren't
Hmm.
even thinking about it. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's interesting. Um, so now you're gonna have another fight. It's a couple of years later. They approach you this time. Is it kind of a similar situation where just your coach said, "Hey, you want to go again," or how did it come about this time?
I was ready. I was ready. Actually, um, Combat Night, actually, they came and they asked me to fight about a year ago, so a year after my initial fight. But I ended up getting my ankle twisted about 2 weeks before the fight, so I wasn't able to fight. Um, so they ended up filling, getting someone to fill in for that fight for me. Um, and then after that, I was like, wow, like that, because when you come and you back out of a fight, it's a pretty big deal. Like promoters don't really like that too much. They want, reliable fighters too, because they have to, put on a show. So they have to make sure they have a fighters. So I was like, I was hoping that they would still like, want me to still fight with one of their promotions, because I didn't want to look like, like a, a quitter or something like that. So they were actually asking for me a few times, but my coach, he wanted me to get warm-up fights. So they were trying to get me at some, little smaller promotions, local promotions. One of them is RCF, Real Cage Fighting.
Hmm.
So they were trying to get me in a fight, like a little small amateur fight there. But not a lot of females fight at 145. So it was difficult. And then Combat Night asked for me to fight at this promotion. So it's um definitely a blessing, a great opportunity to be able to fight with them again.
Now, is this one pro or amateur?
This one is amateur. Yeah, I have to build up my rank.
Now, how many amateur fights do you think you want to have?
I want to be able to have at least three, at least two or three. I mean, um, right now, right now I feel like, because I did do a boxing match with RCF, and I did really good, and I lost by points. But looking on the clips, I feel like I by points I feel like I won, but it's wasn't, everybody else's call. It was the judge's call. But I feel like I did a really good job with that fight. So um I'm hoping to have at least another two after this one. And then hopefully I can get some good looks.
Do you think you might want to do more boxing at the same time?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a definitely, yeah. Boxing is definitely where it's at. I do have a more of a passion for boxing. I love MMA. I love all mixed martial. I've always trained mixed martial arts, but it's easier to get into the boxing route as far as like income wise. If you want to make money, boxing is the way to go.
Yeah, plus you're Puerto Rican, boxing's more
It's in the blood.
up their alley at this point in time. I know I had talked to you about my friends gonna get involved in one, but until then, I don't
Yes.
think they have any. So yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I used to watch Felix Trinidad fight a lot, and I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever,
And
yeah.
we got Amanda
Yeah, I
Serrano.
just watched that.
Yeah.
Tell me, what'd you think of that? You watched it, I take it.
Yeah. I love Amanda Serrano. I think she's 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 a true example of a champion and what it is to have dedication. Her background is amazing. Like, it was 10 years before she actually made a name for herself. 10
Right.
years. And she's dedicated her entire life to the sport. And she represents women um very well, and the island of Puerto Rico very well. So, her boxing technique, she's very, you could tell she has that New York style, which is how I like to fight. We have that a little bit of swag, like what we like to call it. We have swag when it comes to the fighting style. You get different looks.
But she looks really clean in her technique, like
She's very clean.
the other girl she fought, the Irish girl, her name skips my mind at the moment. But she's more kind of like maybe a brawling style, you know.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah,
could see
definitely.
Serrano has a lot of, I think, seasoning, as a competitor
Yes,
by the
that's
way
a
she
yeah.
competes. Yeah.
That's a good way. That's a good way of
Yeah.
putting it. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing to see that kind of for them to get on that kind of stage where there's that many people watching.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be definitely. I feel like it can be nerve-wracking, but I feel like after a while, you learn how to zone everything out
Mhm.
when it's just you and that person in front of you. Like everybody else doesn't matter, you know?
But I wonder if Amanda Serrano ever thought I would fight on Netflix. This many people
I
would
know, right?
watch my fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think she was expecting that. I think her love for boxing turned into an obsession, and that obsession turned into, perfection and perfecting her skill, her craft. And, she started getting recognized just by being consistent and doing that.
Yeah, and getting with Jake Paul and stuff too, or is his
Yeah,
promotion?
I think that's a smart move too.
Because they're both. Jake Paul is in Puerto Rico, I think, or does he still live there? I knew he was living there for a period of
Oh, I'm
time.
not sure. I'm not too
Yeah,
sure. I don't follow Jake Paul too much,
yeah, he was living
honestly.
out there because of the tax, situation.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so I think that may have been. I don't know how they connected, but I think that maybe that could have something to do with it, possibly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Now, as a boxing fan, like, did you watch Felix Trinidad much, or?
I do actually. It's funny that you actually say that
Mhm.
because when I'm training in the gym, I'll listen to some music, but I'll also watch clips. Like I like to watch clips on the treadmill of Felix Trinidad.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, like, how
yeah.
how old are you?
I'm
Like,
26.
yeah, so I was high school age. So how did you find him? Because I'm much older than you. How did you find Felix Trinidad?
Well, I of course I came and I would look up, like greatest boxers of all time. And I have to like, I'm not biased, but I like to like know the history of my roots. So I come and I look up, greatest boxers of all time in of Puerto Rico, from Puerto Rico. And then he came and he popped up, and then I would come and I started watching his clips and I'm like, wow, like he's really nice with it.
Hmm.
It's like you're dancing.
Yeah, did you ever like? He had a great fight with Fernando Vargas. Who's kind of brash Mexican American fighter,
Hmm.
and they really didn't like. They had a strong disliking for each other. And it was a pretty rough fight. But then Trinidad knocked him out. I forgot what round, but it was pretty. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting fight, and they're kind of back and
Now
forth a little
I'm gonna
bit.
have to look that one up for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Fernando Vargas' son, he fought Callum Walsh, this guy that Dana White was kind of pushing, Irish kid, on that Netflix card, the most recent one. Yeah, he fought Callum Walsh. So, or not? Yeah, on the Crawford versus Canelo. So
Yes.
his son Fernando Jr. fought.
Nice.
Yes, it's kind of wild. These people I was watching when I was high school age, and now their kids
And
are.
now they are kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to watch. HBO did a great job of carrying boxing when I was that age. They don't anymore, but they had their World Championship fight series, and then they had something called Boxing After Dark, which would kind of feature up and coming guys. And they had so many good fighters; it was ridiculous. Like they had everybody, and it was really a cool time to watch boxing because they had it. I think it was every. I want to say Friday night or Saturday night. I don't remember which, but yeah, they always had just great fights all the time, and there's some legendary fights that happen on those shows. Uh,
Nice. I think people they start to forget the appreciation of, the sport. I feel like a lot of times though too, I see it in the gym, you got some hot-headed kids and they're like, okay, I'm ready to know how to like, beat someone up. But like there's like roots to it, you know, and it goes back to what you're talking about. And, anybody can learn how to defend themselves. But to be um, you know, boxing enthusiast and have that heart for it, like it's on a different level. And you can see it in when a person fights.
Yeah, one I would suggest for you that they had was Ivan Robinson versus Archer Gatti. They fought two times, and the first one was unbelievable. You know, so that I'll have to shoot
Yeah,
you
you'll
that.
have to
Yeah,
send
because
me all of them.
yeah, and I had Ivan on my show because I remembered him. So I reached out to him because I probably watched the fight a
Oh,
100 times, maybe more. So I was trying to find these people when I got older. Yeah,
that's so
so it was
cool.
awesome. We watched the fight together. He kind of talked about what was going on.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I'll have to show you that sometime because there were some incredible fights on these HBO cards. It's kind of because boxing is so splintered now.
Hmm.
It's being carried on different networks. Many different platforms. As to where HBO, you could just you knew, it's going to be on there. And there was other shows, but HBO was the one that had the majority of the fights, and so it was a little bit easier to follow than trying to where do I find this one, that one, this one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
So I think that could be interesting with the UFC, TKO getting involved if they're able to, you know,
Yeah.
garner more fighters in that respect. But yeah,
Hmm.
it would be interesting. But it's going to be interesting to see how they compete, how these factions compete now that, I mean, I know UFC, maybe some of this all yak stuff could keep them out of boxing if they don't get their way on it. Um, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you were telling me about the movies that you used to watch because I watched some of those same movies that I heard you mention, like Bruce Lee, for example. What were the films you watched?
Eye of the Dragon.
Or Enter the Dragon, or was it just
In
Eye of the Dragon?
Eye of the Dragon. No, in the Dragon. In the Dragon.
It was an older one, right? Like where he got
Yeah,
slashed with the
I
guy who had the
believe
hand.
it was Eye of the Dragon. Something
No,
Dragon.
it's called Enter the Dragon.
Oh, Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, Mr. Han, he had the hand that he would remove. Is that the one you watched?
Yes.
Yeah, he would take his hand off and he had a few different hands that he could use. Yeah. That's a legendary movie, that's older than me, but I loved all those Hong Kong films, I used to watch a lot of the not just
Yeah,
Bruce Lee,
now it's
but
more so like clips and stuff like that. I know that Netflix does really well with, bringing in a lot of the oldies there too. I watched all the Ip Mans.
yeah. I liked a lot of those
I
kung fu movies that were overdubbed, that you could tell it was in English, but you could tell that's not what they were speaking,
Yes.
and I watched a lot of those movies. That they fascinated me when I was a kid.
Yeah, I tend to watch things without the captions too sometimes if I'm able to pay attention to
Yeah.
it. So I'll read it with like, the English subtitles and then listen to it in the regular voices. It's the same thing with animes too, which is another reason
Mm.
why I got into mixed martial arts because I love animes as well.
That's interesting because I lived in Japan,
Oh
2002 to two.
yeah.
Yeah, I was
Oh
in
my
the
God, that's so
military, and
cool.
I wanted to get stationed in Japan because at that time Pride was, the biggest Pride FC, and Japan was where it was at that time. They had God knows how many promotions. You could watch fights almost every night of the week if that's what you were into, you know, and yeah, it was awesome, awesome to
That's
do.
so cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely a must destination. I would love to go to Japan for sure.
yeah. You got to check it out. Um, so maybe tell me about some of the fighters that you kind of follow in MMA, or some that maybe have been influential to you.
Um, right now, a female fighter that I am looking at who, you know, I feel for her story and I've been like, just glimpsing because I I'm not really too involved when it comes to like, social media. I'll go on there, I'll come and I'll check updates and stuff like that. I'll watch clips, but I'm not too big on like, following their every move or
Right.
every fight type stuff. But Tracy Cortez, I don't know if you are familiar with her, but she's
Hmm.
coming in the UFC. She's coming in, and I love her background story. Um, she started at a very young age, and just, she pushed through trials and tribulations to get where she's at right now. And I'm very interested in seeing how she makes her way through, you know, pros in the
Yeah, she
UFC.
lost her brother.
Yeah, she lost her
Yeah.
brother.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I lost my brother too, in 2023 after um the fight with Combat Night. I lost my brother a few weeks after that, actually. So I that's another reason why I came and I was able to relate with her. Um, Sean O'Malley, I love Sean O'Malley. Sugar Sean, he's definitely a really cool fighter. He's definitely unpredictable. He's very goofy. I like it. I like his style because it looks like it's unintentional, but it's very intentional.
Yeah.
You never know what to expect with them.
Yeah, I think with this generation, especially in America, it's kind of a popular way to go about it for some fighters, to kind of be outlandish a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the vibe was different back when it first started. There weren't many people like that because I think everybody was doing it for the first time. So they
Mm-hmm.
kind of were in it together doing this stuff for the first time, like maybe like exploring space. So they kind of had a respect for each other because of that, because they were both doing this thing. They didn't really know everything that worked. So I think the events, like when they did these events, the guys were, most of them were really respectful because they were trying to figure out, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you training for this? Because they were still trying to figure out what to do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like BKFC. Chris Lieb and I trained with at one time, and he had told me some of that. Backstage guys are saying, are you hitting sand? Are you, punching the bag without gloves on? What are you doing? Guys are still trying to figure it out, and I think that's why they kind of have a little bit of that early UFC to them because guys are all doing this
Mm-hmm.
for the first time. Sorry. Yeah. So it's an interesting concept.
Yeah. I also I don't know if you're familiar, another person is in the boxing, Clarissa Shields.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, love her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely top two, Amanda Serrano and Clarissa Shields, my top two female boxers.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of tell people, you got a fight coming up. Kind of tell them when it's going to be and how they could check you out.
Okay, so my fight is October 18th. It's gonna be at, I believe it's Beecham in downtown Orlando. So
Mm.
Combat Night. And they have the tickets and the links on the Combat Night page. I also will be providing it underneath the comments of the post on my Instagram. So if people follow me at Brianna Damaris on Instagram, they'll be able to keep updates with the fight and the tickets to the fight. $35 to stream it online, and then it's $45 for the tickets right now. And then I believe it goes up to 55 or 60 at the door. So
And that's kind of really all you do on the social media side, as far as Instagram and stuff.
I do. I have my Instagram and my TikTok page as well.
Uh, so that's what you use to kind of promote yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's what I have been using, and Facebook as well.
I want to give you a chance to say something at the end because I know you've been through some trials that you mentioned. Um, maybe if you could say something to people, it doesn't have to be fighters, just people in general, even that maybe you would think is important from your experience.
Okay.
All right, so I wanted to give you a chance before we end this interview because I know you've mentioned you've been through some trials and tribulations similar to like Tracy Cortez, and I was wanting to give you a chance to maybe tell people something that you think is important. It doesn't have to be fighting; it could be, but from your experience in life, something that you've taken away that you think is important.
I think what's important is definitely to have faith. I definitely do not operate on my own strength. I believe that you definitely have to have inner peace because, life doesn't stop for nothing. The world around you continues to, it continues to move forward. And we have to move forward no matter what happens with, like, our loved ones. This life is temporary. So, all we can do is, you know, show up for ourselves, continue to show up for ourselves, even when mentally we don't want to. We got to show up for ourselves. We got to show up for the people that care about us. And um that's what I would say is to have faith. I'm definitely a firm believer. So, and that's definitely something that gets me through. And I see myself as like, a warrior physically, but I also see myself as a warrior spiritually. So,
Yeah, it's tough. Like I was talking about the stuff with my mom. I feel like I pull in this direction where stuff is happening to her, and I got to work,
mhm.
and it's like this. You know,
And I believe that's definitely spiritual warfare. And I believe I was going through spiritual warfare because I was getting hit with a lot of things, school, work, a lot. So, and I was training at the same time. And my coach pushing me, if your the gym is your second home. That's where you're gonna come in here and get focused. That's where you're gonna get focused. So it's definitely a combination. You definitely have to balance everything, but I believe in spiritual warfare for sure. And I believe when things like that happen, that's when your faith is tested the most. You gotta
yeah.
keep on going.
I want to thank you very much for the time. It's really interesting kind of talk about some of this stuff, and
Yes,
about some of your
absolutely.
thoughts and everything. And yeah, I'd love to do it again sometime.
I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to be on your platform and open up about a little bit about myself and my fight. Thank you.
Yeah, and everybody check out Brianna and Combat Night and check out her pages. Brianna Damariz, so Damariz. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, check that out. And appreciate everyone watching this, supporting the channel. And till next time, take care.